Hey guys, I'm going to show you the new sprite sheet, a bit of API I've created for 2D overlays. So for example, I've got these 2D overlays here. I'm going to test different methods out, and this one here is a plain mesh. But previously what I was doing before, up until now, was using separate images to update the stats for a different coloured icon, but that's not very performant to have lots of little tiny images all over the place, and that's just for the stats. Then the same thing for the menu items and everything else. It's actually a lot better to combine them all together in your photo editing software like GIMP or Photoshop. Just join them all together in one big like sprite sheet type of thing. Now the other way, a method that I've created recently, is to change the vertex color of the 2D overlay image. So this one here is just got a simple sort of a grey-white simple. I've got the icon, everything's correct, but I can actually just change that to any color I want using the vertex color. So I've hooked into that. This method here is using the way I will be using probably in my game if my game is ever completed. I don't know, but that's the way I'll be doing. I'll be creating a large sprite sheet, and just I've created a way to then just select which part of the text you want. So sort of like texture splitting, I call it. And that's just the old previous way when I only had so like 3 textures, but I think this way is better. And this one's just a single image. To compare the different methods, you can see that they all work. Now my texture splitting method will also adjust for keeping aspect ratio. Before that wasn't working, but now it does work for keeping aspect ratio as well. So that's good. So it cuts up the image and then it applies the aspect ratio appropriately to keep it consistent, and you'll see that in a minute. And this is just a 2D plain mesh just for testing. You can see that it's just a plain texture, and I'll just change the vertex color on that. I'm just comparing the visual on the different methods. I think the 2D overlay is just a lot simpler to use. Instead of pointing a 2D plain mesh in front of the camera, you can do that, but you have to fix it in place, and then it also adjusts the distance when you change view angle. It has to be adjusted. It takes a little bit of special code to do that. It's all a bit of a hassle. 2D overlays are just a lot better. And now you can change the image alpha, the image color, and also use a texture atlas, if you like, or a sprite sheet for more performance to select which image you want. So you'll see that in a minute. So I've just used guides in GIMP, and I've had single images, and I've just put them all into one sheet and saved that out, and then applied it here. So I've got some new APIs. Firstly, I'm going to update each of these. So here's new API. That's the old set line 2D. I might change the name of that. It's not really informative. So anyway, it just gets the node. So here, these are the key numbers here that won't change. So of node 1, which is 2D1, that's this one here. So there's only 3 images vertically, and this one has 4 by 3 on 2D number 2. So I'll first show you that. So just how you can see, it's pretty simple, very simple. So node 1, so this one here, I'm saying how many images horizontally. So in the X position, there's 1 image. I'm using the first image of the total number of images, in other words. Yeah, so it's just 1, 1. If I had like 2 by 3, you would say which number of the 2 going horizontally do I want. So, and then here, those 2 numbers, that relates to the vertical. I'm saying which image do I want of how many in total. So there's 3 vertically, and I only want the first one. I'll start with blue, then I'll go to orange, and then red. So I'll start with 1, then I'll go to 2, then 3. So 1 of 3, then 2 of 3, then 3 of 3 later on. Now this one here, this has got 4 by 3. So going across, that stomach icon is actually the 3rd one. So I want the 3rd of 4 going across. There it is, 3 of 4. and the blue one is the first one of going down. So that's the first of 3. So yeah, that's pretty straightforward. And on top of that, this one here, set CNode property. Now there's a new property for set CNode property called image color. So that will change the vertex color. There's 3 ways you can send through color information through actually as well. One is just using a vector 3D method, calling it color and putting just setting that through as color. The second method is actually using, looks like a custom inbuilt CopperCube format. It's just a special number with a negative sign in front of it. That actually works as well. And then this method also works, the standard hexadecimal. So normally has a hash in front of it, and then it has 6 characters. So I think 2, then 2, then 2, and each one of those is for the RGB. But in CopperCube you need to put 0x in front of it for it to work. So get rid of the hash and put 0x, and then put the hexadecimal. That works as well. So I'll use the hexadecimal for now, and there's plenty of websites. If you're not sure what color to use, you can just go on and, you know, say you want a blue color, select something like the color you want, and then it will give you the hexadecimal value, and you can just push that in there and have a play with that. So yeah, it just needs to have 0x in front of it, then the hexadecimal, or you could use the CopperCube. It's like a custom number somehow. It's nothing generic, or I don't think anyone else uses that format that I can tell. Or you can just send through a vector 3D of colors as well. So when we start that, you just see that now. So straight away, that's just this default. Now when I press the button, it'll activate the texture atlas of the 2 up the top, and there it is. So it's activated, and I'm telling it to pick out what part of the texture for the second and third one up the top, and the fourth one up the top has changed color a little bit as well. Not very, a bit hard to tell actually, but it has actually changed color. I might give it a stronger color, and if I change, I've got different numbers to then cycle through the different images. So I go number 2 and then 3, and you can see that the second, third and fourth ones up the top. So so the second and third are just 2D overlays. I'm just selecting different images, and the fourth one is just changing the vertex color. So there's different methods you can use either way. Changing the vertex color, I suppose, yeah, it's pretty simple, but it applies a standardized color across the whole thing. Whereas with the pre-made textures, they can look a bit better that way. So I'll be using the texture method, I think, for the game. Yeah, so I was just playing around with that. Now this here, 2D plane mesh, it has a I've applied a set the vertex color on that one, doing it this method. You can't do that with 2D overlays though. Be nice if you could actually, but no, you can't. So in case you're wondering what color I've actually used, if you've forgotten, I've got another one called set vertex color. It just applies give it the node, give it the color, and it will apply the vertex color. But that's only for mesh, 3D mesh, 2D plane mesh, or a 3D object. Doesn't work with 2D overlays. So 2D overlays, I've got sprite sheet method and the vertex color method, so they work quite good. So you can see here when I press, when I go to red color, same simple little API of this one and that one. So that one will be, so it's one image wide by the one image. I'm selecting the first image of the one image on total, so that's 1 of 1 here, and 3 of 3. So the third one of 3 in total. So that'll be red. So that's how it's very easy to use that way. And the red icon of this one here would be 3 of 4. So 3 of 4 across, and 3 of 3 down. And there it is there, 3 of 3 down. And the vertex color of that one, it's just a different hexadecimal value there, so that works as well. There's also image alpha. I actually haven't shown you that one, I don't think. Let me do that now. Okay, I'll change the image alpha as well of the third one up the top. I'll just adjust the transparency by half, so I'll just do that now. See that? The third one up the top, so it's gone to half transparency. You can change it to any transparency between 0 and 1. So it applies 0 applies default transparency, 1 applies full transparency. So that's this one here. Set Scene property again. Image alpha is the new property. So if I apply 75%, 0.75 is 75% reduction in the colours. So in other words, it's you're only showing 25% of transparency that's left. In other words, so the higher the number, the less you can see it. In other words. So I'll do 75% now of the same one, and you can see it's almost completely disappeared. So yeah, you can fade in and fade out 2D overlays, so that's pretty nice. Okay, I've got two new 3D sound properties as well. Set Scene node property, music node. So one is called paused, so you can just paused as in true or false, send that through, and it will pause and unpause that particular sound playing on that particular node. And the other one is sound effects. So I've incorporated the sound effects, like just in case, probably very similar or something like that. So I've incorporated that in, and I've just called it SoundFX. So once you put anything in using that property, SoundFX, set Scene node property of a particular 3D sound node, if the length of the text you send through is more than about 3 characters, it'll then try and look that name of that sound effect up and play it. If you want to turn it off, just send through like null, or probably better, two quotation marks connected together. So in other words, just send through like an empty string, in other words, and it will stop it. Now this sound effects in the Air Clean game engine from Nico can only be activated on the starting up of the sound. You can't start it halfway through a sound playing. So it'll only activate on the sound that once it's on the beginning of its playing. And these are the existing that Nico has set up, different sound effects: chorus, compressor, distortion, echo, flanger, gargle, reverb, parama Q, and waves. The echo didn't sound very good in the beginning. I've changed some numbers and it sounds a lot better now. So I've got paused and sound effects. I might try and add in a FX gain amount or something like that, so you can vary the strength of the sound effect per sound effect. That's ideally, I would like to be able to do that. But anyway, I'll show you the this one now. So as soon as I turn sound effects on, it's just a JavaScript variable that's true or false. It'll then, for that 3D sound node with that property type SoundFX, the effect for this next demo will be echo. So that's what, and I'll just swap out the name of the effect, and you can hear each one actually. So I'm just going to run that. It's just my opening of my game, and I've just changed the sound to a voice so you can hear it. So here's the pause. You can pause and unpause, and it actually continues playing from where it left off, so that's good.
In trouble now.
Something you couldn't do before. I just in case has done all this too, I think, yeah. But anyway, this is my version of it.
In trouble now.
And then also I'm going to add the sound effect to echo, so it's like you're in a cave. So I'll unpause it and then apply the sound effect.
In trouble now. In trouble now. In trouble now. In trouble now.
There you are.
In trouble now.
Pretty good, huh? That's pretty good. You can see up the top right the information. I've set it active true using echo, and if I was to turn it off, it goes back to just turning it off. So if you stop it halfway through the sound, it'll stop the sound completely, basically. Yeah. Okay, so that's echo. I'll show you the some of the other ones. I won't go through all of them, but yeah, some of them are alright. Okay, what was a good one? Waves. Waves is very much like echo, actually. It's similar but slightly different. Reverb is sort of interesting. I won't show them all. I'll let you play around with it later, actually. So I'll try reverb. We'll give that one a go. Save that. Going back here.
In trouble now.
I'll just activate it now.
In trouble now. In trouble now. In trouble now. In trouble now.
Okay, so what it's doing is sort of applying a distance-based effect plus reverb like a echoing as well.
Now, in trouble now.
Yeah, so it's like a sound muffled sound, in other words.
In trouble now. In trouble now.
So that's sort of interesting, but not exactly echo. More of a distance-based, yeah, bass, implied the bass, less treble or something. That might be interesting if you're hearing something from a long distance or away, like in a cave and it's muted effect. That might be interesting. Distortion, have a quick look at that. So they all work. I've got them all working. So that you only need to send through the name of the effect, and it will just start playing from then on. So
in trouble now.
Okay, I'll just try this one.
In trouble now. In trouble now. In trouble now. In trouble now.
Yeah, well that's like a radio distortion, isn't it? That's interesting. I'd have to check, but I'm wondering if you can change some of the parameters dynamically as it's playing, or do you have to restart the sound? That's worth checking out. So that's actually part of the C-Flace 3D Sound Seed node. That's sort of interesting, isn't it? So yeah, so you've got quite a few other ones you can play as well and check out. So chorus is a slight computerized distortion effect. Compressor, oh, that one actually doesn't seem to do anything, or it's so small effect that I can't hear it. The distortion, that's a radio interference type effect. Echoes, it's quite a good indoors echo. Flanger is a very slight distortion. A gargle is like a bad reception effect. Reverb, some echo and lots of bass, yeah. ParaMQ, oh that's right, okay. So some of them you can't hear the difference, whether it's playing or not. It probably is playing, but you just can't hear what it's doing. May need to turn up the parameters a bit on that one, some of these. Waves, indoor echo with some bass, so yeah. There's a few of them there. So while in my next update this video is about, I will attempt to have a new one that will adjust this sensitivity or the effect strength, if you like, FX strength sound on the sound. So yeah, so that's some interesting additions, part of my new binary API code in CopperCube. I've just added in a new property for the 3D sound nodes, which is called FXGain. So that will change the strength of the sound effects. Now each sound effect, they're all different actually. So chorus, compressor, distortion, they're all got different, they're not directly compatible with each other, they're all very different. So in other words, I'm multiplying certain aspects of each one differently. I've only updated for the echo sound effect, so both that and the first two inputs, multiply it by the gain amount, which is generally speaking between 0 and 1. By default it's at 1 or 100% of the sound effect, but you can multiply it by more than 1 if you really want to. But anyway, so that, just to let you know, that does work now. So FXGain is another property, set scene node property of 3D sound effects, FXGain, and you can modify. It'll take me a while to update all the other sound effects for the actual gain amount or the strength of the sound effect. Just thought I'll let you know, and I'll give you an update when I update any more sound effects other than the echo one. Cheers.